a revolutionary product called the GloveScaler. When you decide to take your next fishing trip, grab a pair of GloveScalers. 2-in-1 product, a glove and a fish scaler to quickly grip and scale fish by using your hands. After your catch, simply grip and scale the fish. It's quick, easy, and convenient. You can even scale in the comfort of your own home. The GloveScaler is durable, reusable, puncture resistant, and waterproof. The scaling process is quick and easy. Grab a pair of the GloveScalers.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Liftoff. This is Virginia's show focused on entrepreneurs and startups. Today, I have with me Crystal Lugo. I'm going to introduce her in a second, but she is a very high energy, very just contagious energy entrepreneur that I met at a event in Richmond where she was pitching some venture capitalists. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce this woman who has reinvented the process of scaling a fish, a process that's been around for thousands of years. And she said, there's a way to do this better. Introducing Crystal Lugo.
Hey, Nate, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming all the way down. You came down from Virginia Beach this morning.
Yes.
I really appreciate you just making that drive. It's not a short drive.
It's not, but we got to do what we got to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we talked about this a second ago, but last time we spoke, you were at a pitch competition,
right,
literally throwing scales at venture capitalists.
Yes.
Give some context to that.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, I was fortunate enough to make this event and selected to pitch. And I love to wow the audience, not just talk about it, but show what the product can do. And the most wow factor is bringing out my red snapper that I get and just start scaling away.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It had a huge effect on the audience. Like I said, you were the last to go.
Right.
And we sat through multiple pitches of, it was seemingly redundant. We had a lot of software pitches, a lot of AI, and those all have a time and place. Those are all great, and those are all very innovative,
Right,
for sure. But I think when you bring it back to something tangible and as physically present as a glove, as
right,
something we know, we can see, touch, and feel, and it's this process of scaling fish has been around for, like I said earlier, thousands of years,
yeah, centuries, yes.
And you said, "Hey, we can do this better." And here's how I'm going to do it. And then you brought it out and wowed everybody. And you had a lot of energy when you did it. You were really engaged with the audience. I think it really made the night.
Thank
really
you.
Cool.
And I enjoy it. And I brought a pair, so you can see.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely an innovative tool that we have made without limitations, right? Because when you think of scaling, using a knife or a fork or something of that magnitude to get the scales off, and I wanted to make sure that it's easy breezy, that whether you're a child, a novice to an expert, there's no limitations to scale a fish. So we took out the frustrating and brought the fun back into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of my questions for this particular product, how long does it take to clean a fish entirely on it?
That's a great question. And it all depends really on the size of the catch and the type of fish it is, because there's different types of scales on fish, as in soft scales and hard scales. So it can take a minute or it can take longer depending on, again, the size. But with my glove, it literally cuts the time down in half or more than in half, because it covers more surface and the glove adapts to your fish versus a tool does not adapt. It's just an object and you have to maneuver it however you need to. But my glove, you can actually touch and feel and know how to apply the appropriate pressure to remove the scales, because some scales are very tough to get off.
Right. And I think you had mentioned they might be cut resistant or a little bit.
So puncture resistant.
Puncture?
Yeah, and waterproof.
Okay.
Yes.
That's super cool.
Because you don't need a knife scaling anymore with the fish.
Yeah.
You use your hand.
Do you have a background in fishing?
So as a child, I grew up around water and lived near water. I did a lot of fishing. And I remember my dad always saying, don't touch the fish with your hands because it can carry bacteria.
Interesting.
And then not only that, I didn't want to scale it using a very sharp knife as a kid. So I always kind of dreaded the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But entrepreneurship was always in my bones. I always knew I wanted to own my own business, but I really didn't know what. And my journey really began, fast forward now, 20 plus years later, I was faced with a tough decision, Nate, whether to go back to work or to stay home. And during the course of that journey, I had to be a stay-at-home mom, but I knew I could do something impactful from home, and I didn't know what. And so this kind of unfolds of my journey.
Wow. Yeah. So you're at home, but how do you come up with the idea? How do you?
Right. So one night I said I'm going to figure out my future. Mm-hmm. And I began thinking and praying and wondering what I could reinvent, make better, something that ignited with my history, something that could be a global product that could be used by anybody,
Sure.
No limitations. And that's
Sure.
something very hard to do. And so I didn't go to sleep, but I was determined to think of a solution. And I had my aha moment. I was really blessed with the idea of this amazing glove called the GloveScaler. And it went from my brain, and I engineered my first working prototype because I saw exactly how this glove needed to be made.
Okay, how did you engineer your first working prototype? I got to ask, because that's kind of a hard, you can't just attach knife blades to a mitten and just start, scaling away. How
Right.
did that work?
So I kind of call myself Mrs. Inspector Gadget.
Okay.
I think that's appropriate. I went to work. I'm a very determined person. And I first didn't start off thinking I could engineer it, but I sought out help, called companies, told them my idea kind of in a broad
Sure.
spectrum
Yeah.
because it wasn't patented yet.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they didn't know what I was talking about. And just to try to figure out what I was talking about, it cost me about $30,000. And so as a stay-at-home mom on one income, my husband only one working, I said, okay, I'm going to have to figure this out.
Wait, hold on. Why would it I'm sorry to interrupt you, but why would it cost $30,000? Did they give any reason for why?
They didn't give any
Is that
reason.
A consultation fee? Is that the manufacturing?
Probably because they're a bigger company. You have your overhead, you have engineers, they have to pay their employees. So it's just not a quick process, and their time is money. So it probably was going to take hours and hours to buy supply or tooling just to see if it even worked.
Wow. Okay. That's a crazy hefty fee for a pair of
Absolutely.
gloves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Keep going with where were we? We were on you were inventing
Yes,
it.
so engineering.
The prototype.
So I was determined I wasn't going to let that stop me. And so I traced my hand because I needed to figure out, I needed a pattern. So I just took my hand and I traced my hand.
That reminds me when you're making turkeys for Thanksgiving.
Right,
You
exactly.
trace your hand and make a little paper turkey. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I put these little jagged things on the paper that I knew could remove the scales, but I didn't know what pattern. So I said, okay, let's go to the store. I love to shop. So went to, Walmart, Dick's, and random places to pick up different items that was already off the shelf. And I began laying everything out and just constructing, engineering, gluing, and bending. And I had the first iteration of the GloveScaler. And then I said, okay, now I need a fish, right? So I went to the store, got a fish, recorded it, and it worked. Not only did it work, but it worked well, and I knew I was onto something amazing.
Wow. So the first iteration of your prototype worked.
Yes.
I feel like that's rare. Is that rare?
It's rare after I realized that this is not normal. Just from, speaking with people and testing it and actually doing my customer discovery work, that this was a game changer. And I had to make some more revision after customer feedback. Went to get a patent, of course. So that took some time. Now it's fully patented, fully trademarked. So really proud about that. And again, as a mom, raising not one, but now 5 babies, it has been a long journey.
Wow, that's awesome. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
How does full patent work? What does that mean? Because I think a lot of people know that, like, okay, you can't steal the idea, right?
Right.
But what does a full patent mean? What does
Sure.
that entail? And
Yeah.
how did you get that?
So there's different ways you can get a patent, but the first way was a provisional patent without spending thousands of dollars. You get a provisional patent, which basically holds your place in the patent office, that you have an idea, you haven't really figured out all the nooks and the crannies, but it's like you're holding place. You have 12 months to do your discovery work to see if the public is interested in your product before you want to apply full protection with your claims. If any revisions that needs to be made, that provisional process allows you to do that before you submit now your actual claims to your product.
Okay.
And which is very detailed, very explicit, and it shows the functionality and how it works. And so I have now a full utility patent describing exactly how it's used, how it needs to be, how it works, and covering all of my aspects so no knockoffs come and try to knock me off.
Sure. That's really, really cool.
Thank you.
And I think at some point, right, you've made it onto Shark Tank. I don't think the episode aired, but you made it on and you were able to pitch with the sharks.
Yes.
Are you able to give any insights or tidbits into that?
So,
because that's super thrilling.
thank you. It was a long process. I applied to Shark Tank for about 10 straight years. And even though it was a very early stage, I said, I just want to show my product to the sharks. And so I was blessed to actually not only get selected, but go through the full process to land on the carpet to pitch my products in front of the sharks. Didn't air, which was disappointing, but still just that process was amazing. It was a lot of work.
Sure.
And I enjoyed every moment of it.
Sure. And how did you prepare for something like that? Because that's a pretty life-changing event. Whether or not you get, an investment, whether or not your episode airs, it's a pretty life-changing event. Just to go and be there in front of these famous sharks, these famous venture capitalists.
Right.
Well, how did you prepare for that? That's got to be nerve-wracking.
It was, but staying focused.
Sure.
Knowing what the mission is, getting your objectives, like we talk about in business, your KPIs.
Right.
And going forward with this is your one in a lifetime opportunity, and you can't let fear stop you now. I've come this far, so strategic planning, a lot of pitch practicing, perfecting your pitch, and being able to adapt, because in business you have to be able to know how to pivot, adapt, and to adjust, and meeting strict timelines. And so just sounding out the noise and focusing and just killing it. But a lot of preparation, mental, if a lot of mental preparation for sure.
I think that was one of the things I noticed about you at the pitch competition I saw you at, was you had your pitch down. Like you knew that thing through and through.
Yeah.
You knew every word, you knew the energy to put behind every word, you knew your product well, you knew every question that was going to come your way. You were just well prepared, versed in your pitch. You had spent time on it, I could tell. And so
Thank you.
That way, all you had to do was just focus on the energy.
Correct.
And it was so natural. It was such a good pitch. I really enjoyed it. I know the room enjoed it. I keep going back to it. I wish we had the recording of it or something.
I know.
But it was very, very well done.
Thank you.
Now I want to pivot a little bit to where does the goal lie? Where's the end goal lie?
Yeah.
With GloveScaler. So there's two options, and generally, correct me if I'm wrong here, that entrepreneurs take when founding a company or starting a company.
Right.
They either want to grow it and sell,
Right.
or they want to grow it and own it.
Yes.
Which are you?
I want to grow it and own it. This
go.
is generational wealth. And like I said, as a mom of 5, I didn't come this hard to work, not only for me, but for my family to sell it. Now, if it's a great, hefty price, I'm not going to put it off the table. But
Absolutely.
as of right now, my vision is to definitely grow it and pass it down to my children, their children's children, because this is not just a product. This is going to be a global brand. They say start with one thing, do it well, and then you can evolve to other things.
Yeah, there's a quote. I think it's by. I'm going to mess this up, so don't give me too much for this. But I think it's the gentleman who founded Airbnb said, "Don't build something 100 people like. Build something 10 people love."
Yes,
something to that effect. I really see this as a product that 10 people can love, and then you can find 10 more of those people, 10 more of those people, okay, 100 more of those people, and you can grow that base through just the word of mouth referrals. And
absolutely,
you're out fishing with a buddy,
and
instead of slicing your hands or whatever trying to fillet a fish, he whips out these gloves. Like it's pretty eye catching, pretty different. It's industry changing, I think.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you.
If I could tell or share a little story on some of the feedback, because I think it's appropriate what you just mentioned. Doing my market test, there was a gentleman I met that he owned a small bait and tackle shop down at the oceanfront in Virginia Beach. And I showed him my glove, and he could not stop looking at it, but began smiling and said, never in 50 years. He's been in this industry for over 50 years. Seen a lot of products.
Wow.
Has he ever seen a game-changing product like this? He said, young lady, you're onto something, and it's looking very good. So to gain that confidence from someone who's been in the industry longer than I've been alive, to look at me and tell me that he's never, ever seen anything closely to this glove, was very warm, and words can't describe how I felt.
Sure.
But very excited. And to now launching last year, just within last year, we launched our about 100 MVPs, and which was manufactured made, and customers actually paid for it. And not only did they pay for it, it went viral. We now have over 200 plus pre-orders.
Wow.
Not just within the U.S. Half of that is international orders. We're in 14 countries. We have orders from 14 countries and 5 continents. And we landed our first international distributor on Reunion Island, which is right off of Madagascar.
Wow.
And so I'm always intrigued, like, you haven't even seen or touched the glove yet. I have not done an international marketing campaign. How did you find me? And they say social media. They've seen something where I was at. I attended the world's largest trade show in Orlando, Florida this past year. It was an amazing experience, and it just literally lifted off.
So these orders from 14 countries, I want to bounce back to that. Are these fishermen or are these retailers?
So in the beginning, they were directly from my website. So consumers buying it off my website. I'm not sure exactly if they are store owners or what have you, but they are customers buying directly. So that would be direct to consumer. And then the retailer who wants to be a distributor in Reunion Island, that's direct to business. So it's a little bit of both.
Okay, very cool. When will the pre-orders just be in? When can we get
fulfill
one?
them? Yeah. Well, I'm working expeditiously, and the biggest holdup, right, is capital, because without capital to go to manufacturing to meet, I know I'm going to more than exceed my minimum quantity order, but the holdup has been capital, and so we've just been working really hard to get the capital we need to scale these things off the ground.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And one of the questions posed at the pitching event that you and I were both at was, I think the prize there was $10,000. I think it was a $10,000 prize. But one of the venture capitalists asked, we're talking about $10,000 prize today.
Right.
what if instead you had $1 million? So I want to pose that same question to you. What if you had $1 million in venture capital at your expense? What would you do?
Well, you just gave me goosebumps because I know what I would do with $1 million for sure, besides crying and being so grateful.
Right.
But we would be able to truly, quickly go to market, mass produce these gloves, and to not only meet the demand, but exceed the demand. We have an opportunity to possibly get our gloves into Walmart of next year.
Wow.
Within 400 stores minimum. These are just the samples, but we have an opportunity as well. We were selected to go on our first international trade mission in spring to Australia to meet with key distributors. So be able to have a warehouse stock full of these gloves so we can quickly distribute these gloves through different countries, have strategic partnerships lined up, can hire on additional help to meet the demand. That's the biggest thing. And not only that, but we're impacting communities. I'm in an interesting space as a minority woman in an industry that doesn't really look like me.
Sure.
But, I have tapped into something that has really gained a lot of interest with the community, as in saying, they've never seen a product like this, and it's amazing, and they want to embark and amplify my voice even more of how I'm impacting not only the fishing industry, but entrepreneurs around, my community, that they want to join this revolutionary movement.
Absolutely. And then just a little bit here, I wanted to touch on what are some areas that you feel you talked about capital. Capital is obviously a challenge.
Right.
But outside of capital, which is, that's kind of like the main thing here. But outside of capital, what are some challenges that you see? Maybe room that you can improve
Right.
GloveScaler, or other ways you can optimize. What are some of those?
That's a great question. So we always are faced with different challenges, right? And so the number one challenge, like I said, was capital, but number two is making sure we can quickly distribute these because time is of the essence. Okay. So any unpredictable, unforeseen instances that may cause the delay with moving these gloves from one country to another. You have tariffs, you have different roadblocks that we may unforeseen. Quality control. We want to make sure these are inspected thoroughly, right? So after it's manufactured, it's not damaged in before we can inspect it. So we want to make sure we have our ducks in a row and forward think how we can mitigate those risks before it happens. So making sure we have a strategic plan in place to quickly put fires out, because we're always going to have fires, right? But how quickly can we extinguish those? I think is important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's good that you know where that lies, where the challenges lies, and it sounds like you've got a game plan for it already.
I try.
And then where are your strengths at? Where's your strongest? Like this is what GloveScaler does best. Obviously the gloves, right? Obviously, but give me something else here. What's the thing?
Well, you're looking at it, Nate. You're looking at it. I am the driving force to make this thing truly be a global, international, world-renowned brand, and the catalyst. So it's not the product, it's who's behind the product. Absolutely. That drives the trajectory of any business. You look at different businesses that have been successful. Well, they might have an amazing product, but it's the team. It's the strategic team. It's the execution that has to be put in place to drive that growth, to no matter what obstacle comes, say, okay, now we're going to defeat it this way. And one of my favorite sayings is, delayed doesn't mean denied. I've been delayed a lot of times.
Wow,
but
that's good.
I'm not denied. I take a no as you're not the one, and it's okay. I keep moving, and it's just adding fuel into my tank.
What did you say you did before this?
Before
GloveScaler, before you went?
So I was a bank teller for about 3 years, and I just been always different. I just been always focused, knew I was going to do something great, but like I told you, I didn't know what. I wanted to own my own bank one day. That's still not off the charts. Maybe I'll be a
Wow.
venture capitalist and I'll come back as a shark, right?
There you
so
go.
that is my goal.
There you go.
But yeah, and I was very active in sports, and I think that has helped of the tenacity.
What sports did you play?
Oh my goodness. Well, I did cheerleading, I did softball, I did volleyball, I did basketball, I did karate. I was the New York State champion at the age of 12 years old.
Goodness.
And I'm also a percussionist.
Wow.
No, so random.
Wow. So much. A lot of competition, did you have a lot of siblings? Did you?
It's just my brother.
Just your brother.
But
Okay.
he's the older, so I'm very competitive. So
Okay.
anything he could do, I can do better.
That's right. I think that's so important. I'm glad that you answered the question the way you did. It really is you. It really is people behind the product. It's not the product so much. It's
Right.
it's the person behind the product. And I think you made the case today. You made the case certainly at the pitch competition that we were at, that it's your energy, it's your drive, it's your focus, it's everything, the passion you pour into this.
Yeah.
You aren't stopping anytime soon. That's very clear.
Yes.
You're going to hit your goals. It's not a matter of
Absolutely.
if, it's when.
It's
And
exactly.
That's the person you are, and that's a person that people can put money behind.
Put $1 million behind it.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to hear that answer, because when the venture capitalists at the event were asking
Yeah.
these different questions back and forth to the people pitching, they were looking for that answer.
Right.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up.
Yes. Thank you.
How can we as a community help support GloveScaler? I know obviously pre-ordering.
Right.
But where can we pre-order? I've got it up right here on the screen.
Absolutely. Yes. So directly on our website,
Okay.
GloveScaler.com. Follow us on Instagram as well at GloveScaler. But where I can really need help is continue to spread the word, continue to subscribe to my website, put in your pre-orders. That is just validating the even more drive and the need why these gloves are needed. Right now, you can put in your pre-order and pay later.
Okay.
I just truly in gaining the trust of my customers that it's about the money, but it's about knowing you as a customer, and that I can show you that I want to know more about my community, more know about my customer, and go to manufacturing when it's time, and then I'll supply them with a date and invoice them like 60, 90 days out.
Sweet. And just curious, how far out do you think you are from manufacturing? If I were to put a pre-order in today, you can say a year, you can say 2 years, whatever it may be, but how
Right.
far do you think you are out from that?
I think I'm about 2 months out from manufacturing. I'm very close.
Wow.
Very close. So we're 90% done making some tweaks to the glove, and then we're able to hit that green button, mass produce, and ship them out by spring. Our rollout is anticipated as spring of 2025.
I'm excited for you. I'm so excited for you.
Thank
Spring
you.
of 2025, GloveScaler.
That is the goal.
Everybody look for it. Well, cool. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Maybe somebody you'd like to shout out or thank?
Oh, absolutely. Excuse me. Absolutely. I couldn't do this all by myself. I have an amazing support. My wonderful husband, Brandon Lugo, who I've known since I was 13 and married my best friend.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And love him very much. And my mom and dad, my in-laws, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my kids, of course. They've been seeing this from, my daughter was 1. She's 14 now. So this is she's my only girl, and she's the oldest, and then I have 4 boys. So for her to see this is not only a testament of my perseverance, but showing that you can be whatever you want to be as long as you put your mind to it and block out the no's.
That's so important. That's such a good, important message to send to our kids.
Yes.
I love that. Well, cool. Thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode of Liftoff.